Hey y'all, Jamie here, proud 56-year-old trans woman from New Orleans. So, where last I left off, I was on stage setting myself on fire. Yes, you heard me right. I was setting my entire body on fire on stage. I was in Louisiana and I was performing at a little bar that was on the North Shore, north of New Orleans, on the north of Lake Pontchartrain. And I had learned this fire routine with fire batons from my dear friend TT Thompson. She was a showgirl in New Orleans for many years, and a lot of people loved her and knew her there. And TT, when she had gotten a little older, had asked me if she could hand this little routine down to me, and she wanted to teach it to me. Okay, so this was my first time actually doing the song, right? Doing the number. And I came out in a black cape. And when I took it off, I had on pasties and a G string. I had a bowl of green rubbing alcohol. It has to be green, it burns cooler, not cold, but cooler. Okay. And so I get on stage and I start doing my number, and I dunk my hands at one point in the bowl of green rubbing alcohol, and I slide it up my body from my ankles up to my boobs. And I light it on fire with the baton. Yeah, my whole body went whoosh in like these bluish, bluish flames that started, at the base of them. And the tips were orange, right? It was very beautiful. It was a beautiful looking routine. It really was. The manager of the bar, however, made sure to come over there immediately, and she had her happy ass sitting right next to the stage with a fire extinguisher, prepared to blow me out, y'all. She was really prepared to blow me out if I caught myself or the bar on fire. She was very nervous about this whole thing. I did not. I knew what I was doing. And it turned out to be a really hot little routine. Everybody in the bar loved it. And it was a wonderful time. It really was. It was a great show. So I'm still bartending at Le Roundup. Felina is no longer bartending at Le Roundup. Felina said she just wasn't making enough money working there, and she couldn't cut it with the tips that she was making there. Now, I I was doing okay, but I had my ex-husband Mickey, making a good bit of money too. He had a sugar daddy at the time named Nick. Nick was supplying a great deal of money into our household. So honestly, I didn't have to make as much. So after she left there, I don't remember how it happened, but I ended up going over to day shift for a while at Le Roundup, over at Le Roundup at 819 St. Louis. I know I always say the address. It's no longer a bar. It's no longer the bar that's there, but it's nostalgia. So anyway, I was working day shifts from 6:30 in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon, right? Now, I actually kind of loved this little shift. No, you didn't make as much money. You had the coffee clutch in the morning of the older gay guys, a little clutch of them that would come in. I think like 7 or 8 of them that would come in for coffee, and they would sit there and they would shoot the shit. And, the hustler boys that were still out from the night before or that were just waking up to start their day would come over to them, and, they would flirt and all that. And it was a fun little shift. So it was a fun little shift to work. One day, my ex husband Mickey had started working offshore again. He had worked offshore off and on through our relationship. He had started working offshore again. When the cat's away, that's all I'm going to say. And I'm sure he'll probably see this because his current wife loves to show him this shit. Makes him watch these videos for some sick reason. Anyway, that being said, okay, he was offshore. I was working at Le Roundup, and I saw a really pretty pair of green eyes looking at me with a really sweet southern accent attached to them. He came over. It was a guy named Graven. Graven would become a fixture in my life for a little while. Well, actually, I knew Graven for many years. When Graven first met me, he told me that he thought I was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen, laid it on really thick. And he was from Mississippi and had a really thick Mississippi accent. And that just, ooh, honey, made my panties moist. That's all I can tell you. Made my panties moist. Like he got my attention. He got my motor revved, okay? And he wasn't the most gorgeous thing ever. It was the accent and it was those eyes, and he had this cute little smile and he was kind of like a sad little puppy. You know, he reminded me of a little puppy that you find on the street that's so adorable that you just have to bring it home. So I did. In fact, I brought him home for like 4 or 5 days in a row and had a little bit of an affair, a little bit of a fling with him. And then Mickey comes back from offshore, right? And Mickey's back home. Graven gets into a fight down the street, gets beat up, gets beat the fuck up, like black eyes and everything, comes into the bar crying to me about he's in love with me and begging me to leave Mickey for him. And if y'all want to know what happens next, darlings, y'all know the routine. Be here next time and I will too. I love you all. I love you all for watching and I love you for the comments. I will talk to you later. Bye, y'all.